Okay, green box is up, live counter is going up. Going to assume that means we are live very shortly will be. Which means welcome back to the Storytime Network. It is the Paradox Hour podcast today rather than Saturday, because Gen is with us to talk about Encanto.
Yes, Encanto.
Guys, it's time we talked about Bruno.
We don't talk about Bruno. No.
It's gonna make this very difficult to talk about then.
I know. I'm just fucking around.
Oh no, I'm fully aware.
Oh, Bruno.
It's a catchy song. Honestly, it's a very catchy song.
I do understand why everyone was like, please, can we stop with Bruno?
I've heard that song was playing on the radio for quite a bit. I don't listen to the stations that play Disney songs, so I was fortunately spared, but a lot of parents were not.
Yeah. Thankfully, none of us have children.
Thank merciful God.
Mm-hmm.
I am not ready to be a parent at all. But yeah, Encanto.
Let's just jump in, shall we?
Now, is Encanto the most recent Disney movie or second most recent?
I want to say it's definitely... It is the most recent.
Because I'm pretty sure Turning Red was Pixar.
Turning Red was Pixar, yes.
Yeah. Well, it was produced by Pixar. It was produced by Pixar, but distributed by Disney. So, but yes.
I mean, everything that's under the Disney umbrella is distributed by Disney. Pixar is one of its sub studios.
I thought you were going to say everything is distributed by Disney these days.
I mean,
it's not far off.
It's not wrong.
Sooner or later, Disney will be like a triumvirate ruler of the world, one Pepsi and Sony.
I mean, no, Coke actually has a larger market share, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Coke has larger market share internationally.
Makes sense.
Pepsi did have
Is it because they still have the cocaine in the foreign beverages?
Probably, and also, well, I mean, to be fair, Pepsi used to have the the 10th largest navy in the world.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
you
that's
not
true.
know that? Comes up in memes all the time.
I remember hearing that Pepsi had a navy. I just didn't remember it being the 10th largest in the world.
It was at least in like the top 20, which is kind of terrifying.
It is terrifying, Jesus. But anyways, we are getting lost in the weeds way early on in this video.
I mean, that's just how we roll, honestly.
6th largest naval fleet.
Yeah.
Yep, that was what it was. It was very stupid.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Damn Soviets.
We can always blame Russia.
But
anyway.
yes, that is out of the realm of the scope of this podcast, because this is set in Colombia.
Yes, it is set in Colombia during, I believe, the Colombian Civil War period, which is let's see, the Colombian conflict, May 20. No, that's too late.
I'm fairly sure it's definitely 20th century, but I think it's sort of.
It's the 1,000 Days War. That's what it was.
I think it's early to mid 20th century.
They took, based on a lot of what people have said, it is based off the Colombian 1,000 Days War, which is a civil war fought in Colombia from 1899 to 1902 between the Liberal Party and the government, and then later the Conservative Party, which had ousted the National Party.
Yeah.
So essentially liberals versus conservatives in communism.
I mean,
Fun stuff.
you know, I thought initially that it was the conquistadors because everyone loves
that makes sense.
Yeah,
everyone
it
loves
makes sense.
colonialism,
At the same time,
and then we didn't
at the
see
same time, though, it doesn't.
conquistadors.
Well, this is set
Yeah.
in set about like 50, I want to say like 50-ish years after after the Thousand Days War.
Mm,
So it's set in the mid
So it's
mid
mid
1950s.
20th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're talking like post World War II Colombia.
yeah.
But these are people who are very cut off from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
In terms of, so that's why there are references to other events and historical things.
I mean, yeah, the big thing is the reference to the Titanic in one of the songs.
Right. Correct.
Oh, and telenovelas.
Yes.
Which are probably a recent invention at this time, if it's supposed to be set in like the 50s or 60s.
Yes. But overall, like Encanto is set in Colombia during a period post a major civil conflict. Mostly because Disney did not want to step on the toes of colonization and the role they in part played in that.
Mm.
So they were just gonna sidestep it entirely.
And they
Fair.
probably didn't want to go into too much depth on war in general because
Yeah.
that ain't
Right.
Disney's brand.
But it does go to show the origins of trauma and conflict, and in a way that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
So it didn't need to be, a specific event. It just needed to be, a traumatic event, and it definitely was traumatic.
right. Like, to the point where we're getting into a bit of like my views on the story in general. It's a story about immigrants and immigration.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
the
that's
ways
definitely a reasonable take on the story.
and the ways immigrant families tend to grow and change from the original immigrant generation to the second generation to, in fact, the third generation.
Mm-hmm.
But I have nothing but effusive praise for this movie. What's your guys' overall opinions and takes on the movie first?
I loved it. It was excellent. And several songs are still not leaving my head.
As somebody who's never been that big of a Disney guy, for whatever reason, I honestly don't know the reason, this is actually like really, really good and, breaks the mold from what you would expect from a traditional Disney movie.
Yeah.
In the best way possible, as well as covering a very frankly a very sensitive subject in a very careful manner.
And generational trauma, yeah.
Generational trauma, yeah. And, the fact that, yes, while Abuela was wrong to do what she did, that doesn't mean she is, evil or the villain.
Right.
Yep.
She is...
The villain is trauma.
The villain is systemic violence.
Hmm.
And the ways in which systemic violence harms our families and communities.
But yeah, it's a really interesting, it's a really interesting thing to cover, that, that generational trauma that caused Abuela to hold on to her family too tight and to try and force her family into
very narrow specific roles, basically.
into very narrow specific roles that, to try and protect them. And it's interesting the way that their gifts manifest and what kind of gifts that are manifested, because it can be seen as very sort of, I don't want to say offensive and militarily focused powers, but all of them could be used in conflict if need be.
Mm-hmm.
But also they all can be used, to, start a new
Community.
and help it grow. Except Camilo's. That one's kind of hard to say exactly how that would help community.
Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment, yeah. I mean, my guess was that it was, potentially.
Infiltration.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, no, he's
that's the that's the offensive/defensive view on it. But in terms of just building the community, maybe it's how it was used in the Family Madrigal song, where he took the role of a mother, so the actual mother could rest.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll get into the powers in a little bit, but I think Camilo and specifically he is a character, like his power it can also like he is the ultimate actor,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And in a town that is very cut off, he can very much be a person who brings entertainment and joy to a community, and that's something he does revel in.
Yeah.
Is making people laugh, right?
Mm.
Like he revels in that.
Yeah.
He is arguably the funniest character in the movie, aside from Bruno himself.
I was gonna say that's Bruno. I feel bad for laughing because he is
He's just such an awkward man. I feel bad for laughing at him, but he is
he has suffered greatly.
I will say I kind of wish that Camilo and his side of the family got a little bit more focus, because the only one with any focus was with much focus was his older sister.
Yeah.
And to a lesser extent his younger brother as well, but he got the least focus, I feel, of all of his generation of the family.
I would agree, yeah.
Which is a shame, because he has a really interesting power, and he has a lot of possible avenues of exploration for that power.
I mean, yeah, because obviously, you've got the whole thing with Isabel and Luisa not fitting to their assigned roles, and you've literally got somebody who can shapeshift and does shapeshift between genders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that would be, a really, really interesting, avenue to look at not fitting into expected roles. But to be fair, there's only so much runtime.
Right, like my main gripe with this movie is that it's not a TV show. Like a limited run television show would be so interesting. Like
it really would.
Apparently, there is going to be a TV show.
I am.
Oh yeah.
This is my shocked face.
Because let me just get the Wikipedia page up and go to the future. Jared Bush and Charisse Castro Smith have expressed that they are open to a potential Disney Plus series. Bush said he would be happy to see a show about any member of the family, and Castro Smith shared that Miranda was very interested in creating a show about Dolores. And then Bob Chapek described Encanto as the company's latest franchise in 2022.
Yep, that sounds right.
So I would be absolutely shocked if there was not more Encanto content at some point.
Follow up on it.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Like it'd be almost foolish, like from a financial standpoint, because of how popular it was.
That said,
it's their most popular movie since Moana. Except maybe Frozen 2.
Yeah. That said, though, I do love the focus the other grandkids get, because I really love Antonio's relationship with Mirabel. Especially just the parallels between that, that's almost first scene and then last scene where they walk together. I don't want to go
Mhm.
too much into details before we get to that point. That was really
Honestly,
nice.
I absolutely love the whole family.
Mm.
They have such an interesting dynamic
Yeah.
overall.
So let's
Their
go in.
relationship.
Sorry, continue.
Oh no, go ahead, do your thing.
No, go. Say what you're gonna say.
I really like how even if it's the family is technically divided into subgroups, that they play off both within the subgroups and against and with the groups outside of the subgroups as well.
Hmm.
Like you get the dynamic between all the cousins, for instance, but you also get a little bit between Peppa and Julieta
Mhm.
and their respective husbands as well, which is really
The
fun.
husbands. Both of the husbands are great.
Poor Augustine.
Poor
Augustine.
Poor
Augustine.
Augustine.
There were bees
Augustine.
everywhere.
That man is lucky he is married.
How has he survived this long?
No, that's
How?
actually
Julieta.
fridge brilliant. That's fridge brilliant. Because obviously he's so accident prone, he'd have to get healed so often.
And so he'd
he
be
would-
hanging out with Julieta so
Yeah.
often.
So it's
That is
actually
the perfect
brilliant.
background, yeah.
It's brilliant.
I mean that's why what's her face? Isabella's boyfriend, whose name I cannot remember right now.
Marciano, I think.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Townsfolk.
Mariano.
Mariano. Yeah,
Close.
that's why he's such a perfect match for Dolores because he's so loud.
Not to mention he's also oblivious too.
He's so loud and genuine. I think is the two traits that.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
He's loud. He's oblivious,
Mhm.
but he's also like he has like he's easy for her to pick out from a crowd.
Yeah.
And for a person like Dolores who needs to learn to tune out sounds to hear individuals, I'm sure that's a blessing.
God, I'm just thinking of one of the. I would argue one of the funniest gags, which is after Augustine finds out about Mirabel finding Bruno's vision. Nobody needs to know. Just the door opens and Dolores is just across the way, just eyes wide, just I know. Just scurries away.
He just whispers it too, and it's hilarious.
But like Dolores, oh my heart, Dolores. But we should give a summary of I'm sure everyone who's listening to this has seen this movie at this point. If you haven't, what the fuck? It's the year of our Lord 2022.
Movie. Why have you not watched this movie yet?
It's so worth it, honestly. It really is. You know, as somebody who only watched it in the last couple of days, it is worth it.
It's May of the year of our Lord 2022. Watch this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Look, I just watched it on a whim, and I was like, why did I not watch this sooner?
I mean,
it's so good. So good.
I always kind of wanted to watch it just because I knew Stephanie Beatriz voiced in it. And let me tell you, fucking Stephanie Beatriz's range. Because for certainly the first part of the movie, I was like, man, I cannot tell this is Stephanie Beatriz. And it was only when Mirabel really got sort of anxious or emotional that I could really tell that that's definitely her. But otherwise, her again. This is coming off, seeing her as Rosa in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like,
I mean, I think part of the reason why it works so well is Rosa, which is her most famous role, is very different from what she's like in real life, and also she
completely
deepens her voice a lot to play Rosa.
She does, and it's like astounding. But again, also her singing voice. Jesus Christ, her singing voice.
So, fun fact: she was pregnant for some of this.
Yeah,
for some of the
damn.
when she was recording for what was it? Waiting for a Miracle. She was 9 months pregnant.
She actually no. Here's the fun fact: when she was doing that song, her water broke. She was in labor while recording that song.
Oh man.
Holy shit!
That's the fun fact there.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And like, there's something like she like I don't know. There's something genuine about the way Mirabel is played and acted and written that it brings in to burnt out kid, like burnt out gifted kid in a family of immigrants.
Hmm.
Mm.
I mean, I'll tell you what the feeling I got from pretty much instantly from the moment I learned that she was the one without a gift. I'm gonna say in inverted commas because I believe she did get a gift, just not some
The
obvious
gift,
superpower.
well, I
Yeah.
think her gift is being held by someone who's still alive.
Yes, that's my point. Is that she more than any of the other family members, other than Abuela, gets the house and interacts with the house.
Right, and like that's kind of the revelation of
Mm.
her door.
Yeah.
It's the front door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can definitely see that as being like what they were going for.
Yeah.
So from what I've heard, they intentionally left the reason why she didn't get an apparent gift open to interpretation. So most interpretations are probably have some degree of validity, but I think the Mirabel gets the house is probably my favorite interpretation of that.
And the other possibility is that it's her emotional intelligence.
Yes. So
Her gift is understanding.
Mm-hmm.
well, the gift is empathy, right?
Yeah.
And
that's
this
not
is
something that needs to be gifted.
right.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is like each of the like you mentioned this earlier, Mel, is like each of the family gets gifts based on what was needed to protect or help the town and community.
Mm-hmm.
What was needed when Mirabel was born? It wasn't a superpower. It was someone who needed to fix the family, who
Yeah.
needed to help the family get better.
Because that's the thing, the cracks with Bruno were already starting to show. It was just that Mirabel not getting her gift was the final straw, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
And-
Already Bruno was being blamed for
And not even that, like so like the way Peppa,
Poor
Julieta,
Bruno.
the way Peppa, Julieta, and Bruno all interacted with the community and with Abuela also demonstrate this. You know, there's a sense of like Peppa is is bipolar. She has manic depression and severe anxiety because she is not allowed to express her feelings and emotions in a way that is healthy and safe. Right? Every time every time she emotes in a way that is honest and apparent, Abuela's like, Peppa, smile. Be happy. We need sunshine. Julieta has no apparent or outward trauma that she displays, but she's constantly self-sacrificing, constantly helping.
Oh yeah.
In the moment, like when in the climax of the movie, she knows her daughter is hurting and walks away because Peppa calls for her.
Yeah.
And like no shade, no anything.
I mean, here's
that-
the thing. Here's what I was really happy about is the fact that the relationship between Julieta and Mirabel was consistently good.
Yeah.
There was the conflict never came from that relationship. Julieta was only ever supported of Mirabel, and Mirabel always knew that she had her mother's love.
Right. Julieta was consistently just a good parent to all of her children, from what we've seen.
Yeah.
And that's
she
the
was
other...
like when Luisa was just absolutely beside herself when shit was hitting the fan. Julieta was right there beside her, just consoling her.
It's also
which was very nice.
It's also implied that she is the only birth member of the Madrigal family, other than Dolores, who didn't see Bruno as the villain.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's also but Julieta is what we in marriage and trauma and marriage and family trauma circles call the the helper, the healer, the giver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Her trauma is in relation to her being able to provide and to give.
Mm.
It's bad. It's very mentally and emotionally bad when she's unable to do that.
Exactly. And that passed on to Luisa.
Mm-hmm. Which is super highlighted in Luisa's song, by the way.
Oh yeah, for sure. But the thing is, Julieta is a amazing parent, and Peppa is too. Let's not ride Peppa here.
Peppa is a good parent, definitely.
They're both really good parents, but that still doesn't heal the trauma or the harm that is being done to every member of the family simply by being part of the family. They can be the best parents in the world. They did nothing wrong. And yet their children still are hurting and are hurt, have harm dealt.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another way in which I think this movie really hits something really deep is parent a lot our generation, Gen X, they're becoming parents now, and we recognize the signs of trauma and we want to fix it and want to break the cycle, but it's not. In many ways, we can't fix a lot of the issues because we were dealt it. We can only do our best to make sure that the next generation has the tools they need to combat it and grow and change, right?
Yeah.
And so, the most well-adjusted member of the family, isn't Mirabel, it's Antonio.
I argue Julieta is the most well-adjusted, but Antonio is also pretty close.
Wait, who'd you say, Jack? You cut out.
Julieta is probably the most well-adjusted overall.
Well,
because
I think Julieta is too torn. I think she has the pressure of being, because she is the eldest of the triplets. So there's been a lot of pressure for her to be the next matriarch. Because Bruno vanished and Peppa is unstable. In the eyes of the community, Peppa is probably too much of a wild card. So who's who for most of her adult life was probably the most looked upon member of the Madrigal family, Julieta, and that's a pressure.
And also add to that as basically, the sole healer for the community.
Right. So
in the opening song, we saw a fairly substantial line getting ready to be healed by her.
Exactly.
That poor dude whose arm just went 90 degrees
around. Jesus, yeah.
Yeah. So what? Going back to what I was going to say, or who Mirabel reminds me of, in the general beats of her story is Lyndon in Unsold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Lyndon, in many ways, Todoroki, Deku.
Deku especially, I'd say. Deku more so than Todoroki.
Thought a little bit of Asta.
Yeah.
Every character, but that's this is the thing, right? Mirabel is different from them in that I think there's an element of she is still a member of her family, and that is where she goes.
Yes.
Whereas Lyndon, Todoroki, Deku, they all separate themselves from their family before they go on their journeys. Mirabel's journey is very intertwined with her family. And
The way I was putting it in my head is Mirabel is Lyndon if he didn't leave Sacred Valley.
yes, exactly. Yeah, I
And
can see.
had a more understanding family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's it's that story of uh the ungifted one proving to be just as
Oh,
normal
another
and
example.
gifted as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget about Tavi from Codex Alera. That was the other one I was
Mm.
thinking
Oh
of. That was
yeah,
just
that's it. Yeah.
slipping from my head.
Mm-hmm.
But it is really nice. And obviously this assumption was shaken later on in the film, but certainly early on, I was thinking it's really nice that Mirabel is the protagonist and not Isabella,
Mm-hmm.
who
But I think
is
that's the
the
point.
yes, who is the more traditional Disney princess, whereas Mirabel is very much not. I feel like I remember reading that she's the first Disney princess in inverted commas, to wear glasses. Just such a minor little thing,
Yes.
such a
Yes, that is
minor
true.
little imperfection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know what kind of ticks me off about what I've heard about the production of this movie?
Hmm.
Um, on a slightly related note to Mirabelle wearing glasses, the apparently some studio execs tried to make Louisa less buff,
Yes.
and
Yes, I've heard.
also they underestimated how popular she would be because they undermade the toys for her and overmade the toys for Isabella,
Hmm.
and they had plenty of surplus Isabella toys, and they sold out of Louisa toys.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's very funny to me that happened.
It's
Um,
hilarious.
as if they didn't pay attention during the whole thing with Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gone is the time of the traditional beauty being favored. Now is the time for buff girls.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
They're still making the same fucking mistake with She-Hulk.
Oh yeah,
Correct.
that. I am so mad. I am just so mad.
Right. But I think like it's to your point, Jack. I think it's a like the fact that they didn't make Isabella the hero is the point of the narrative,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
Because like Isabella, like I come from a family of immigrants. I'm a first generation American, second generation immigrant. And like when I was watching this movie with my partner, she's white, she's from Indiana, her family has been here for generations.
Hmm.
Um, she looked at me and went, "Oh, your sister's Isabella, and you're Louisa. This pair is 1-to-1." And it was very my partner very much keyed into the fact that like yeah, the elder sibling in a family of immigrants oftentimes will be the one to be like, no, I have to be perfect.
Hmm.
I have to be
Yeah.
perfect for the
Yeah.
family.
Hmm.
And then the middle child or the younger child will often also be, no, I have
Hurting.
if I need to lift and carry as much as I can.
Hmm.
Otherwise, what am I good for?
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very much this thing of the eldest being expected to bear the burden of expectations, while the middle child has to do everything that they possibly can to make themselves appear exceptional.
Hmm.
Right.
Whereas the youngest child is often just favored or babied
Hmm.
by the parents. And that's a dynamic you often see in three child families.
Hmm.
Yep. And you even see it within the generations too, right? Like Isabella is the favored of her tier of sibling,
Hmm.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
her and Dolores are a pair, And like between the two of them, Isabella is the favorite and Dolores is the burden carrier,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
right? You have Luisa and Camilo. Luisa, burden carrier, also needs to be perfect. Camilo has to do burden carrying quietly. And then Mirabel and Antonio, they're reversed because of the nature of the gifts.
Mm.
But at the same time, Mirabel carries the burden of the family in terms of her shame.
Mm.
She is the family outcast, so that Antonio doesn't need to bear that and can be babied.
Yeah.
Um, but also, like, Isabella, in many ways, has to be perfect because there's no one in her generation that can do it,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, her fault is that she is the eldest. It is a quirk of birth.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of sucks.
Yeah, and that's just how like family dynamics happen. That's what like her and Mirabel's relationship is so strained because of the family,
Mm.
even though they both love their families deeply.
Mm.
Mhm.
They love their families so much that it hurts them.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, going back to what you were saying about Julieta being, you know, basically the heir apparent to Abuela, I think that's also, you know, plays into the pressure that gets
Mhm.
dropped on Isabella rather than Dolores.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Because Isabella is not just the firstborn, but also, you know, the firstborn of the heir apparent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Dolores
She
is
has
more part of the
perfect.
branch family, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And yeah, but as I said, you know, start of the movie, I fully, you know, I did not expect them to go any deeper than, oh, she's just, you know, the perfect princess character. And then, you know, I was very pleasantly surprised when they actually challenged that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was really good. The song was also very good.
Song was
Oh
also
yeah,
very good.
my partner loves this song.
Mm,
It's so good.
yeah.
All the songs in this movie are fucking fantastic, by the way. Just
Oh yeah, no,
absolute bangers across the board.
um and
But
like the fact that like Mirabel, like the way Mirabel gets Isabella to quote unquote become better is by letting go of her perfection, like her desire for
mm,
perfection, and really finding what she wants.
mm,
Right? And like that is a narrative that every elder sibling needs.
mm,
And some
Mm-hmm.
younger siblings need.
yeah. I
Luisa being
Yeah.
told it's okay to take a break.
Yeah, I think again the other thing that you know shows that while she may not have gotten, you know, a magical gift, she still has again the gift of emotional uh
Emotional empathy.
emotional empathy.
Emotional.
Uh
She's EQ.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is the fact that, you know, Mirabel
Emotional intelligence.
did
That's what it
seem
was.
to understand, you know, exactly what both Louisa and Isabel needed to open up. I don't think any other character could have gotten Isabel to open up the way Mirabel
No,
did.
it
And it was just
it
by,
had
you
to
know,
be Mirabel.
just by, you know, giving Isabel somebody to see as almost an antagonist and to you know, vent towards.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said like about the way Mirabel in like gets to that point with with Isabella and later with Abuela.
Mm,
It's not a pretty interaction.
mm,
It is gritty and hard and very much one that in so taking a step back in families like mine in families like I'm in like from families from the global south
mm,
there is a undue expectation of keeping the status quo or saving face,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Mm-hmm.
the ways that Isabella and Abuela needed to get healing are not ways that would be socially acceptable in those families.
Yeah.
And I think like that is another way in this movie shines because it's saying, hey, sometimes you need to do the really uncomfortable thing because that's the only thing that's going to work.
But you are definitely correct that it's is a viscerally uncomfortable scene, and it becomes more so on a rewatch because you suddenly understand that Mirabel is actually is enhancing the stereotyped role that Isabel has been forced into.
Yeah.
And believes it.
Mm-hmm.
And so
there is a sense that like Mirabel and Isabella are operating from this like mistaken stereotypes, and those stereotypes are caused by the family because that's all they know.
Mm-hmm. But while she Mirabel is obviously has this assumption of Isabel, she's also through her behavior throughout the film is also making it hard for Isabel to stay in this role, which is also going to be frustrating and is part of the reason why she eventually cracks.
Yep. It's not really all Mirabel's fault, to be fair.
No, it's
it
not.
Is a lot of it is just like very unfortunate accidents,
right?
And
like it also goes to
bad circumstances.
It also goes to show like the ways in which, like Isabel, like even it's like Mirabel in the family is the clearest example of someone who has been through trauma, and like recognizes that they've been through trauma and doesn't want to inflict more trauma, but still does because she is trapped in a cycle.
Yeah.
Like through her interactions with Isabella, she's causing more harm unintentionally, even though she recognizes that what she's doing is causing harm.
And to a certain extent, she is causing more harm through her attempts to, prove herself. Without realizing it, because let's be honest, she forces Bruno to do something that is deeply traumatic to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
The fact that it works out is, does not mean that it wasn't, something that was very difficult for him to do. And even if the, the resolution of, oh God, I don't like this future, and him just going, yep, that happens every time, and chucking it away, doesn't change the fact that, that's
right.
That's something he has been forced to deal with every time he has looked into the future.
Exactly.
Now, this is a good time to talk about Bruno.
But we don't talk about Bruno. No.
So, Bruno, what a character you are.
Yeah.
And the poor man suffering from DID and paranoia, anxiety.
Again, I shouldn't laugh, but that moment of I'm Jorge, I make the scaling is just, oh God, it's so tragically funny.
And I fear nothing.
Fernando is actually me.
Also, like Bruno and his rats, his wonderful rats.
Yeah.
The rats told me everything. Oh, Antonio, you sweet child.
I do love the joke about Bruno basically doing telenovelas with his rat.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of memes made about it of Dolores listening in on the telenovelas. It's like, and they were roommates. Oh my God, they were roommates.
But for all
this,
yeah.
This episode of today's telenovela was brought to you by arepas, as in Dolores. Can you bring me more arepas from Julieta, please?
But But for all that Bruno is definitely one of the funniest characters in the movie, he's also, definitely one of the most tragic and honestly has probably, I would say, the saddest moment, which is when Mirabel looks through the crack, sees the table, and then looks down to see Bruno's made his own place setting.
I love my family.
Yeah.
I thought just thinking about it
Heartbreak.
is breaking me. I'm about to start crying thinking
Yeah.
about it. Cause how many kids have you seen who've been cut off from their families, like because they don't fit into the norm, or they don't fit the normativity that is of the family,
Mm.
or whatever, but they love their family, and so they do it, they
Yeah.
leave
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
because that's the best way for them,
Yeah.
and it
Mhm.
sucks.
Mm.
And his little but I love my family
Yeah.
just fucks me up. Oh.
It's heartbreaking.
And it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense, because Bruno thinks that by leaving he's serving the family, but by leaving that makes the other members of the family think that he doesn't care about the family.
And to the
Honestly,
point
a big
where Abuela
theme
even
with
says as much.
Yeah.
I think a big theme with Bruno is the self-fulfilling prophecy, because
Mm.
that's like a lot of the times he shows people images of the future. It either directly or indirectly leads to something happening, like with Peppa's wedding, or with the guy
Mm.
losing his having all of his hair fall out. Like it makes both of them very stressed out about the thing, and that leads to the outcome that
Mm.
was already predicted.
Well,
The
those
thing with
those weren't even the ones I was going to bring up. I was going to bring up
Peppa's
the
wedding wasn't even a
wasn't even a
vision.
prediction.
It
Yeah,
was
it
a
was.
joke.
Yeah, it was him trying to get her to not
No.
even calm down, to just say, look, it's okay if you feel these emotions. You don't need to try and repress them.
Right. He was trying to do Mirabel before Mirabel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But he just
and
but
unfortunately, it
because
backfired.
well also he was too deep, he wasn't he just wasn't the person to do it because he
Mm.
didn't have the skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ones I
Go.
was the ones I was going to bring up as a self-fulfilling prophecy were, the
The gut
goldfish, which was
and the gut
always going to die in
Yeah.
that fucking tiny bowl, and the guy who got a gut, because I'm fairly sure it was established earlier in the film that he's a big eater.
Yeah. Not to mention all the stress eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Now, like I said, Bruno's big theme is a combination of self-fulfilling prophecy and just reluctance to face the future.
Mhm.
That another thing that I've just thought of is that because he got so sort of mired in this mindset that every future he gave out was bad, he
Mm-hmm.
likely got to the bad outcome and then never tried to push past it the way that Mirabel did in uh
Mhm.
in the time that they did it. Because that's the thing. They got to the point where it seemed like Mirabel was going to cause the destruction of the house, and Bruno was just resigned. Yeah, that's what happened before. Bad future. This is what always happens. It was Mirabel who forced him to, continue and find the thread that led to more information and the good future.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible that this could have happened. When he made that initial reading after Mirabel didn't get a gift, if he had, if he didn't have this mindset of, oh, every future I see is bad.
Right. But the other thing is this probably also comes from Abuela, right?
Mm.
Mhm.
Like on some level, like this anxiety comes from Abuela. Like you need to have good visions.
Mm.
Bruno, why don't you just have a good vision for once?
Yeah.
Which unfortunately is not as easy as she'd make you think it is.
Mm.
Well, I mean, like Jack, how many times have any of how many times have we been told as people with mental illness, like, just feel better?
Mm.
Way too many fucking times.
Yeah.
Every time someone has told me that, I have been tempted to kick them in the shin.
Exactly. And it's just like, I'm going to go over here and not try to murder you.
Mm.
Yes.
But like that is how Abuela treated her children's mental illnesses.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't seem to understand it. And
Right.
it's kind of understandable given like the time and place she's in and her own untreated trauma, but
Like
at
her
the same time it doesn't justify it.
right. Like her unwillingness to wrestle with her trauma leads her to unfortunately negate her children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure if it's necessarily unwillingness. I think it's an inability. There is nobody to help her. She is alone.
Right.
Yeah.
But like in many ways
All she has from a family are 3 children, very small children at the time. Everyone her own age see her as a savior figure, not anybody
Mm-hmm.
she can talk to.
she
And
has no
actually,
peers.
yeah, she has no
Yeah.
peers,
Her
and
one
And when
that's
peer
you're
her one peer is the man who died and
yeah,
gave birth to the candle.
yeah,
yeah. When you have no peers and you're put on a pedestal, it's very hard to relate to people.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, she, and you see this in her flashback at the end of the movie. She very visibly decides, okay, I can't talk about my trauma. I have to be strong for the community and for my
Right.
family. And
She
she
wears
takes
her
it too
funeral.
far.
She still wears her funeral shroud
Yeah.
50 years later.
Mm. And again, in that scene, she says, "This is the first time I've been back here." That's the first time she has an opportunity to get closure with Pedro's death.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a big recurring theme with Alma is not just like her strictness, but also just fear. She's
Mm.
afraid of confronting her
Yeah.
own trauma and afraid
Well,
of what will happen if her own family doesn't prove its worth to everyone else.
it's not even
And
that.
that
She's afraid of losing her family.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that is a trauma that is very common
Mm.
and leads to well-intentioned abuse.
Yeah.
We saw it with Moana, with Moana's dad. We see
Mm-hmm.
it in Turning Red.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. I
I
haven't watched that
Uh,
movie, but I'm just gonna take your word for it.
yeah. I
we even
I've
see it with Frozen.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it very recently, and I sort of hate to bring it up, but I do want to bring it up because it was the thing that came to mind when watching this and realizing what Abuela's trauma was. I've seen it in a Harry Potter fanfiction I read recently,
Mm-hmm.
Oh
which
boy.
delved into the behavior of Molly Weasley.
Yep.
The reason
Interesting.
why she wanted her children to take safe jobs at the ministry and to keep them close was that she didn't want them to get hurt.
Yeah.
And it's something that's not really explored in the canon because Rowling is a hack, but
Yep.
it's
Rowling is incapable of exploring the themes she sets up.
it's definitely something that it was definitely something that was not even explored, outright said in this fan fiction that I read. And again, it was just very very good timing in a sense for me
Mm-hmm.
because it meant that I could I had an uh, instant thing to think about and realize that yes, this is a thing that people can go through, and especially in a sense
Mm-hmm.
mothers who have gone through trauma.
Yeah, like
I think like the biggest themes in this movie
Jesus.
are. Oh, sorry. What? Did I robot?
Yeah, to an sort of.
Sorry.
You were fine
Sorry.
on my end, Jack, but
But I think the biggest themes in this movie are generational trauma and the burden of expectations
Mm.
are the two biggest ones that come to mind.
Yeah.
Because you see both of those themes recur throughout basically the entire Madrigal family.
Mm.
Like, the only exceptions to the burden of expectations one are the men who married into the family, and that's basically it.
Yep. And even then, they were not like they're also subject to it indirectly. Like,
Yeah, because
look think about the way that like Augustine Augustine talks to like when Augustine talks to Mirabel in the beginning of the movie, he's like, "Oh, it's such a hassle being a man, like being the men, like being one of the men who married in." And like the ways in which both he and Felix have to like interact with the members of the family.
Yeah, it's the what he did, in response to finding out about Bruno's vision and Mirabel knowing about it, and Abuela, reprimanded him for it.
You should have done what's best for the family. I am doing what's best for my family. For my daughter.
You also see it in a more lighthearted manner in the fact that,
Peppa, you're causing a tale. I'm doing my best. Yeah. Like, Felix never once, like, disparages his wife's emotions.
No, Felix was a very, very good husband, but he was also, the one to open the dialogue about Bruno.
Yes.
He seemed very eager to do so. Like he's been forced to not
Bruno.
Yeah.
Because he knows what Bruno was doing, but he couldn't talk about it because
and here's
his
the thing,
wife had trauma about it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, she clearly saw, their wedding day as a failure. Felix was like, no, it was still great anyway. It's,
because I got
still
to
a
marry
wonderful
you.
day. Yeah.
Yeah. Felix is such a wife guy, and I love him for it.
I love him as well. I also love at the start of the movie when that side of the family is talking to Antonio, and fucking Camilo transforms into him, into a smaller version of him.
A little him.
Yeah. It's just great.
It's like the little Keanu meme. It's so funny. Oh my god!
Yeah, and just apes him. It's just great.
I love Camilo, and I wish we got more of him in the movie. I'm sorry. It's just he's so fun.
Again, there's only so much runtime, and
I know.
There's so many members of the family.
It is. It's just there's also like something to be said about the way, like, I don't know, like there's also something really good about like Felix being such a good husband, as well as looking Afro-Latino, is such a good look. Because
that's the other thing.
He is he's an Afro-Latino dad who, like most people in the United States, like because of systemic racism, don't have access to strong father figures because of the ways racism harms families of color, specifically Black families and like Black Latino families. And so, like, seeing an Afro-Latino man be an incredibly good husband and father is just such a wonderful thing to see. And so, like, the fact that they made him very specifically Afro-Latine was the wise decision.
And just
I like that decision a lot.
Yeah, and just going to that decision, it was really, really cool to see that they didn't just go for one type of
I mean, that, like, they were reflecting how actually like diverse Colombia is as a nation state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like you have indigenous Latins in like who are represented by Julieta, European Hispanics in the form of Pepa,
Mm-hmm.
Asi- like Asiatic Latinx in the form of Augustine,
Mm-hmm.
and Afro Latins in the form of Felix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate the diversity of ethnicity within this movie.
Yeah.
It does a lot to just make the family feel more varied, and
Mm-hmm.
it works really well within the narrative too. Just like it's not like super emphasizing the narrative at all, but it's just a really nice little thing. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's just such a good. This movie's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did it win Best Picture? Like Best
Yeah. It
Animated?
won best. It won. It won. Of course it
Like,
won.
of
It
course it
deserved
won.
it.
It deserved it. Like any other year, it should have been Mitchell's versus the Machines. But this year, like
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't pick a bad animated feature, honestly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, if it wasn't going to be that, I know you were huge on Mitchell versus the Machines, but if it wasn't going to be that one, it was going to be this one.
Yeah, for sure. And so like I'm not mad that it like this is a movie that won best animated and frankly deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um what else is there to say? Like um yeah, I love so much about this movie
Mm-hmm.
because
Can we talk about? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Say
no,
everything.
like I've mentioned this a lot. It's just like the ways in which the family trauma um is like played up and like made front and center to the point where I've seen it in like TikToks and social media and memes and just discussions of the movie in general about the ways in which like, oh, I'm a child of immigrants. I've seen this exact structure
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and I felt the anger of the argument between Mirabel and Abuela, like the movie's climax when the house falls apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there is not I there's no immigrant child that I know, and myself included, who has never felt like Mirabelle in that moment, who has wanted to say to their parental figure, to an elder in their family, who they may love dearly, but still is their abuser, and like wanted to say, "You don't love this family. You're causing us harm."
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
the visceral like frustration and emotion in that is so real and palpable that like I had to like skip past it
Yeah.
on my first watch because I was just like, no, this is too much.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so like watching like the movie doing that justice, doing that moment justice, like is both a fantasy and like deeply validating
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
see. So, like other ways in which this movie is something that like really hit home and really nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie is overall just absolutely fantastic
Mm-hmm.
with with its stated themes.
Mm-hmm.
But can we take a few moments to talk about the absolutely stellar soundtrack?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite song? I think I know what it is again, but please enlighten us.
Surface pressure.
I knew it. I thought you'd mentioned that before, but yeah, surface pressure makes sense. What about you, Nil?
Honestly, same.
It's such a
I
good
really like
song.
surface.
Yeah. And again,
Like
it's
it's very close between that one and we don't talk about Bruno, but I think I like surface pressure a bit more. Has a
Mhm.
bit more heft to it, you know?
I
Yeah.
I again, it's And I don't think it's a coincidence that, it is all of our favorite songs, but it's just so relatable in
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's that burden of expectations. It's all
Yeah.
about like trying to live up to those expectations and being so scared of failure and not meeting what people hope for you and what
Yeah.
you hope for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know about you guys, but like anyone who's ever been a gifted kid.
Hmm.
Oh God. Oh God. I remember back when I was in elementary school, they had this whole gifted and talented education thing. I was
Mhm.
shuffled into that, and it was like I think that might have crippled my development going forward because
It did for
I
a lot of us, Jack.
I
It did for a
coasted
lot
through
of us.
most of all the way through most of grade school, and then I hit a wall in college. Like
Hmm.
I was still pulling passing grades, but I was struggling to really make more of myself or really excel at anything. I
Mhm.
was doing fairly well, but
Hmm.
I wasn't excelling the way I was expected to, or I hoped I would, and it kind of crushed me.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I mean,
I
from
feel that.
from my perspective, it's not even necessarily that I was uh, a gifted child. It was more that I was a very much a big fish in a small pond. I was, the smartest kid in my village primary school, and then went to a high school where you had to get in via entrance exam.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
And
I was just checking. The line that really hits is, "I'm pretty sure I'm worthless if I can't be of service."
Yup.
yeah,
Yup.
yep,
Just
Yup.
Jesus Christ.
mm-hmm.
And again, it's the fact that the whole message of the song is not that it's not big incidents that are causing Luis to break.
Pressure like
It's
a
the
drip, drip,
pressure.
drip.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's the eroding pressure.
Mounting pressure.
Yeah, it's the
It's
slow
gradual.
eroding
It's not going to
pressure.
happen all at once.
Yeah.
But when you break hard.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah. Ugh. Ugh.
It's just so fucking real.
That said, I enjoyed every other song.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, no.
Family Madrigal was a really, really fun way to be introduced to the main cast,
Mhm.
Yep.
as well as a
And
really, really awkward way to reveal that Mirabel doesn't have a gift, which
right.
I knew
Yep.
coming in, so it was less of a, oh, this is a big surprise moment, and oh, I know what's coming and this is awkward. I
Yep.
know why Mirabel is being so evasive.
Mhm.
Or Mirabel.
Oh, my
Oh,
sweet child.
yeah.
My sweet baby girl.
Also, like, dick move from the guy who delivered the care package.
Yeah, right?
The not special. I hope tonight's gifting ceremony goes well, because the last one was a real downer, which was yours, by the way. Like,
Or
dude,
Mirabel.
come on.
Read the room.
Yeah.
That is a legit dick move.
Um.
I mean, even like the way Dolores just like Mirabel didn't get one.
Yeah. Just so matter of fact.
I mean, at least I was just being bluntly honest rather than
Yeah.
just being super passive aggressive about it.
Oh
Because that other
God.
guy was just kind of being passive aggressive about it.
Yeah. Oh, and then the fucking kid. Maybe your gift is being in denial.
Oh,
Just Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that kid is a lot. He shouldn't have coffee in the morning.
It wasn't. No, it was one of the girls. It wasn't even Coffee Boy.
Coffee Boy is also my favorite child. Aside from Antonio, obviously.
Hmm.
But, Antonio's a whole other character.
Yeah.
Antonio's a fun character. I really like him. He's so sweet.
But I think it's very clearly he's the one member of the Madrigal family who doesn't have the same level of trauma that the others do.
And I
Yeah,
think
because
that's...
he's so young and he hasn't had the time to really undergo that.
I don't think it's even necessarily that. I think it's because
Mirabel is there.
because of Mirabel, and because she
Yeah, that
is
would definitely help.
she is who he is closest to in the family. Because you look at the rest of the members of the family, the closest one to Mirabel in age is Camilo.
Camilo. Yeah, and like they're
Yeah.
like almost like strangers
Yeah.
in terms of the movie's interactions.
Mm-hmm. You know, if he didn't get his gift before her, then it would have been very much not long after she didn't get her gift. Whereas,
He is older than Mirabel.
right. So yeah, so
Mhm.
he would have gotten it before her. So, they wouldn't have spent an extended amount of time past childhood together in the nursery the way that Antonio and Mirabel did.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very clear that that is part of the reason they're close, because they were in the same room.
Mm-hmm. And going to Camilo for a little bit, like, he's very interesting too. Like, because like as we mentioned earlier, like he and Dolores and to an extent Antonio are given minor roles in the movie, mostly due to runtime. But like Camilo is such an interesting character because the nature of his gift allows him to be expressive in ways that are easily translatable in like in the movie medium.
Mm-hmm.
Like when his powers start going haywire, he turns into children.
Yeah.
I do like when his powers go pretty nuts and he winds up like slightly deformed in funny ways, because that's
but
funny.
but the thing is, like, he turns into children, right? Like he turns into children characters. When Peppa shocks him, he turns into all authority figures. He turns into Julieta, he turns into Felix, he turns into Alma, he turns into Augustine. He is a kid who had to grow up very quickly because of Mirabel. Like, he is the last Madrigal kid before Mirabel to get the gift. And arguably, for a while, was probably thought to be the last Madrigal kid to get a gift.
Yep.
And
that
so
probably reflects in his general laissez-faire attitude, and easily misinterpreted, which can be easily be interpreted as immaturity, because he's a very friendly, goofy guy, but at the same time, he's not irresponsible. He's just friendly and goofy, like his dad.
And there's also maybe to an extent, he felt it was necessary to take on this persona, given that everyone probably was depressed after Mirabel didn't get a gift.
Right. He does. I think like there's like someone who says like, yeah, and Camilo doesn't know who he is. And like I'm like, yeah, that tracks. Like,
yes,
of course he doesn't know who he is. He's not allowed to know who he is because he never had the opportunity, because he was always because he immediately had the family trauma of Mirabel.
What's also just absolutely fascinating is, well, not fascinating, just really sweet, is how Camilo comforts his brother right before his brother has his ceremony. Like, he transforms into their dad and places a reassuring. I think he placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Just. And
but he also,
I think that's just a really sweet gesture.
He also does that to break the tension as well.
Yeah.
What do we have? What? Now if we don't have a house? What? I can't say we don't have a house? What's that? Not a house.
There is an element of it's kind
sad
of
clown.
Sad clown.
Yeah.
But also, he's the only one out of his siblings that didn't know about Bruno properly.
Yeah.
Because Dolores obviously
Heard him.
just heard him naturally, and then Antonio was informed by the animals.
Fun fact.
Mhm.
So in like we don't talk about Bruno 7'8", like that bit
Yeah.
where he does that.
Mhm.
Camilo was like probably 5 or 6.
Yeah. Mm.
And
Yeah.
so like to a 5 or 6-year-old, Bruno's pretty fucking tall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So
I do like that sequence quite a bit.
Hmm.
Also, like, I am kind of glad that they showed all sorts of different reactions to Bruno in that song, just because it's kind of a Rashomon type thing, but also it's really
Yep.
it goes to show once again the nature of expectations and how they conflict with reality.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing to mention about that song, Bruno does actually appear in it.
Yes, he does.
During Dolores' segment, he is up on the second floor and is just
he's
vibing along to the song.
Yeah.
And Dolores actually
Right.
goes out of her way to make sure that Mirabel doesn't see him.
Yeah. Like she's blocking all the shots with him in it.
Which is just fantastic choreography right there.
Yeah. I mean, the also the way in which like her whole stanza is just like, hey, the shit we're saying isn't real. Listen to me.
Yeah. And
She
also,
hears
and foreshadowing that she knows he's still there. She is hearing him. And while she is not going to outright say it, probably again partly because of the view the rest of the family has towards Bruno, she is still gonna leave those implications out there.
Right.
Also, like, I do love the bit in the engagement dinner scene where it's like Mirabel and her father are trying their best to not have Dolores blab about Bruno's vision.
Mirabel breaks
And then
her gaze for a split second, and Dolores starts telling people.
Yeah.
A split second.
Eye contact. Prolonged eye contact.
It's just like, and every time you see a different reaction, it is hilarious. Especially Camilo's. Camilo's powers just go haywire in that bit once he hears. It is so funny.
Yep. I love that bit. It's so good. It's so good.
It really is.
But the other thing is Antonio revealing the secret is a very cool choice in the narrative there.
Yeah, you've got to wonder, because obviously he was, in contact.
He knows the whole truth. Yeah. He is probably the one family member who knows everything.
Yep.
Well,
he is the one family member who knows all of the secrets, all of the truths.
Yeah. But we know he was in contact with the rats, and it's possible that the rats were the ones who said, "Look, we need to do something about this situation." Our buddy Bruno's going a bit stir crazy in there. He keeps making his dress up as telenovela characters.
Yep.
One of those if he puts me in a dress one more time, I will kill him.
So there needs to be a push. What's going on in the rest of the house? Oh, Mirabel is trying to investigate him. Okay, let's give this little push.
Yep.
Also, another really fucking funny bit from Antonio revealing that he knew, having to tell the jaguar not to eat or the leopard not to eat the rats.
Yep.
That was funny.
just a fucking its mouth just over these two rats. Just, huh? Aww.
Why can't I eat the rats?
There's so many
Yep.
of them.
Yep.
Who'll miss these two? Also, Bruno being convinced to leave his room, just watching the rats clean themselves. I think he's going, yeah, I should probably go.
Yeah.
I've been here too long.
I don't find this strange, and that's not good.
Yeah.
He does save his rats, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does save them.
Mm-hmm. We also haven't talked about probably one of the most prominent characters, and they are definitely a character, which is Casita.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
it is always impressive when
An inanimate object can be a character.
can be a character
Yeah.
with a distinct personality. Like just its reaction when Mirabel says, "Oh, the house can't decorate itself," which normal statement anywhere else, insulting statement when your house is alive and can actually decorate itself.
Yeah. I do love her apologizing there too. Like,
Yeah.
oh, awkward. Sorry.
Sorry, you could. You look great. You're great. You're great.
I've heard like some theories state that like the Casita is actually the spirit of
Pedro, yeah.
Oh, that would be really good.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be
Like-
really good if it was true.
I mean, that's kind of what I've heard, right? Is like,
It's a pretty good theory, honestly. If nothing else, but I think there is probably an element of truth to that one. That is probably I'd agree with that being probably true.
Mm-hmm.
like Abuelo in many ways would see that like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck.
Mm.
I
Oh
fuck.
jeez, oh god, oh fuck, oh no.
It's like, look, it has anxiety
yeah.
to the family.
We built an incredible house. What you've done, you've given an anxiety.
So interesting question. When do you remember when you first realized that the cracks in the house were responding to the strife amongst the family members?
Oh, minute one.
Wasn't minute one for me, but I think it was like the second or third argument that we saw in the movie that was like, that's what's going on. Yep.
Like, I caught it when, like, it only first appears when Mirabel sings her song. Like, when she is at her lowest and feels the least connected to her family.
Yeah. I didn't get it exactly at that scene, but it was only like a couple of scenes later that I was thinking about it and going, actually, yeah, it might be this. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that was paid off throughout the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm. And like, what was it? Like, the two, like, going back to this idea of like perfection and playing a part versus like just being a family is the way the two pictures are, right?
Yeah.
In the first picture, you have all of the family members showing off their gifts. And obviously Mirabel is excluded. Whereas the second one is like, it's blurry, everyone's making a silly face, Mirabel's in it.
There's a fucking leopard running across the screen.
Antonio's holding onto the tail like a fucking Looney Tune. It's great.
But yeah, like, and again, another theme is the realization that it's not the special powers that are the important part. It is the the relationship between the families, and not just in the family itself, but with the community. Like, it's a cliche thing to have the rest of the village or the rest of the community come and help rebuild the house, but it's a damn good cliche, and it fucking works in this occasion. Hello?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
sorry.
we're listening.
Sorry, you weren't saying anything. I got worried that my internet had died.
No, we're
Sorry,
listening.
that happens to me all the time. We're just listening right now.
Yeah. But just going into specific scenes again. The fucking chase in the walls of the house with Mirabel and Bruno, and when Bruno catches Mirabel, you're very sweaty, and then when Mirabel catches Bruno and reflexively lets go when she sees one of the rats, and it's just like, oh god, did the antagonist just die? And no, the floor is literally like 6 feet below them.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so good. I love the way that, like, you had a bait and switch with the way the movie was, like, pitched.
Mm.
It was like, yeah, Bruno was pitched as the villain, and
Yeah.
it's just, he's absolutely not.
Mm.
Yeah. No, like you even get the whole classic Disney song where it's like, oh yeah, the villain sucks, woohoo, ha ha ha, and it's like, oh, he is very misunderstood.
Mm.
Poor Bruno.
Like, you get, like, you're like, oh fuck, is this another Scar? Because I
Mm.
can't do another Hamlet,
Yeah.
like another Uncle Claudius. I can't do it. Not, I don't have it in me.
Mm.
But it's not.
No. Like, look, there is a time and place for the classic megalomaniacal Disney villain. This is not the kind of movie that would work well with that kind of villain.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they very clearly knew that and went for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They went with a smart route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it didn't go for a antagonist character. It went for an abstract concept.
Yep. Like otters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never not going to make that joke.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah.
If I don't make that joke, assume I'm dead and have been replaced.
Will do. But yeah, it's it is the abstract concept of generational trauma. Other scenes that I love, the fact that fucking Augustine swears in Spanish.
Yep.
With miércoles.
Oh yeah, no, that's a euphemism. The actual swear word is mierda.
Yeah.
Which is basically shit.
Mm.
So basically, they use miércoles as kind of like a fudge kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Because it literally means Wednesday. But yes, it is used as a substitute for shit. I mean, I tried to translate it, and if you stop at like mie or mia, it actually translates as piss, which is what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Which made me laugh. Just this, this fucking Gomez Adams looking motherfucker going piss.
Oh, he is Gomez Adams. Oh, you're right. Fuck.
That was my first. That was my instant thought when I saw him.
God, you're right, and I hate that you're right.
He's a de-gothified Gomez Adams.
Yeah.
And I don't. I'm sad. I'm mad that I want this.
Look, if it turns out that Agustin and Julieta are basically de-gothified Gomez and Morticia Adams, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Mm.
So who's Wednesday and who's Pugsley in this?
So Wednesday is. Does it have to be their own children, or can it be the other children? Because I'm pretty sure that either Dolores or Camilo would fit fine for Wednesday.
Yeah, that's true.
And Antonio would probably be Pugsy.
Mm.
Maybe Mirabel. Nah, Mirabel doesn't have the demeanor for it.
No.
I mean, just in the sense of the character archetypes of Wednesday being the more normal in inverted commas, as normal as the Addams family is, or normal in
Right.
the context of the Addams family. It probably would be, Isabella, and Pugsley would maybe be Mirabel.
We're trying to apply a square peg into a round hole.
We really
Yes.
are. It's there's not much of a comparison point here.
No. But all this to say, God, what a good movie! I'm so glad it exists. Like
Yeah.
the joke that I've heard, like between this, Turning Red, Moana, God, what was the other one that people often lump in with these? Fuck.
Is it Mitchell versus the Machines?
No, it's a Disney movie. All of them are Disney movies. But like Brave, maybe I don't know. But like,
I think it's Brave. Yeah, Brave is the one. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, it's like between Brave, Turning Red, Encanto, and Moana. It's like Disney's created this whole branch of fiction where parents apologize for trauma.
Yeah, parents actually apologizing to their children for fucking up their lives. Who'd have thought?
Like the other thing I've heard that's really interesting about this movie is the way it's like a lot of like Latinx kids obviously watch this movie. A lot of like immigrant families watch this, and the way like the characters who people like cling to are very telling.
Yeah.
Also, like to a T, I've heard this is like I've not watched this movie with my family for reasons. Is that like a lot of the times the older generation will be like, Mirabel is such a problem child. Why is she doing that?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh dear.
Yeah, it's like
Oh dear.
it's like they dramatically miss the point. And like that's not uncommon because they see like no, Abuela was perfectly legitimate in her responses and behaviors. Which is not great.
Yeah.
It's it's a thing that happened.
Yep.
But like to say that that Mirabel, like to say that like all of like a lot of these families, the older generation, like these are like interactions and family traumas that are very real and very much a part of the dynamic still. And so like the movie hitting this super well
Yeah. And it,
is just very good writing.
And it's that scene at the river that really does it.
Mhm.
Because up until that point, it could have gone either way. But it's the fact that Abuela arrives, apologizes instantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
She understands that she is in the wrong here.
Yeah.
That she has caused harm.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful scene, and honestly, this scene made me tear up. It made me cry.
And then it
The
made
other
me
scene
laugh
that
when
really
Bruno
got-
showed up.
Yes. Also, the scene where like Bruno comes from behind. Are we gonna like when he comes from behind Abuela, and like
during the final song.
like just before that, actually, like when they arrive back at the house, like the ruins of Casita.
Yeah.
And you see him like appear from behind Abuela's like back from like behind rubble, and Julieta runs up and hugs her brother.
So does Paper.
And like that's the thing I was getting to that. Like Peppa, for all of the separation between them, he is excited to see her brother.
Yeah.
And like as someone like I have a very strained relationship with my sister to the point where like, you know, I'm like, there's going to be a point probably in the near future, probably when our parents pass, that I will probably not speak to her again.
Mm.
And like to see that like, yes, these two estranged siblings, when reunited after all this time, still give a shit
Mm.
and still love each other very dearly is it gives me hope that there's a
Yeah.
better outcome for me and my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Yeah.
to be fair, like this is how I interact with most of my media is like how does it relate to my life and where I've like the stories and narratives that I've seen in my own experiences in life. But
Mm.
you know, it's interesting to see like how this maps and how well it mapped.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I
That
mean,
that is a thing. Like we often resonate with media that we connect with personally, and we do that a lot more strongly uh, with that kind of media. Kind of media that's just like very emotionally resonant is the kind of stuff that we remember the most.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't have the background to relate to it on the same level that you do, Gen. But there are still definitely, there are
Mm-hmm.
strong elements of this that I do relate to. As we said during when we were talking about Luisa's song, that feeling of pressure and imposter syndrome, and the result of being the gifted child early on before finding out that there are
Mm-hmm.
other kids like you, and there are
Mm-hmm.
there are more people than you can count like you in the world. And that
Mm-hmm.
you know,
You're not alone, basically.
not even
Yeah.
the you're not alone, which is the positive way of looking at it, but the negative way is you're not special.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. I mean, that's also both a good and a bad thing
Mm,
because knowing you're not special can be an immense relief to a lot of people
mm,
because it takes off the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It takes off the pressure to be special. I think it's just a fascinating analysis.
Yeah. And like even going away from the clear immigrant reading, right?
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
You have also the reading of queerness, right? Like
mm,
Mm.
Mirabel is a character who you could read as someone else like who is LGBTQ and thus strikes out against the family narrative, like the family's heteronormativity narrative.
I mean, a similar read can be made for Bruno as well, being a
Right.
family outcast who
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really follow along the lines of what's typical for a member of a family who is ostracized by his family for being different in a way he can't control.
Exactly. And like the ways in which Mirabel and Bruno are ostracized are can be read that way too, like
Yeah.
very clearly.
mm,
Um, and like oftentimes in these situations, like unfortunately, you know, those kids do often leave their families even if they do love them.
Mm-hmm. Because it's either leave them or let them hurt you.
mm,
And some people just can't take that pain. What's also interesting is just like The thought got away from me. Never mind. Oh, what I was going to say is I've seen the occasional joke here and there that the way modern queer culture is basically but Bruno and Luisa are basically like the characters that bisexuals in particular find attractive from this movie.
Mm-hmm. And like you could also read Isabella as she is incredibly closeted.
Oh,
Mm.
Isabella is very easy to read as a lesbian.
Mm.
Very easy to read that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's not really surprising, especially if you take into account the idea of, oh, she is supposed to be perfect, so she can't deviate from the norm in any way.
Right.
So she has to keep a part of herself hidden so that she wants so desperately to let other people know about, but she can't because she's the golden child.
Yeah.
Right. So good.
This is a very good movie, and it
Mm.
lends itself to a lot of reading, which just helps it even more.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said about like the ways in which like Luisa you could I am so like excited for the psychology major or like the PhD student who's gonna write a thesis about this movie.
Mm.
Oh yeah, no, I imagine a lot of movies from Disney's
This
revival
era,
period are going to get featured in this in said hypothetical essay because past 5 or so years of
is that what
Disney's
we're calling
output.
it?
The current era, I believe, from like 2008 or 9ish, is called the revival era, if I recall correctly.
It's like
Because
tangled
after,
onward. It's tangled
yeah, I think
onward,
it's
right?
Tangled or Princess and the Frog. I forget which.
It's tangled because Princess and the Frog was a flop, unfortunately.
Right. Which is unfortunate because
Yeah,
I've heard good things about that one. But
yeah.
yeah,
It was
no.
just
I'm
yeah,
yeah. Tangled was
different discussion.
Tangled was the big Kickstarter, and then we got Wreck-It Ralph a couple of years later. Then Frozen was a friggin' mega hit,
Yeah,
and then afterwards, Disney's basically been nonstop.
right.
They've been putting out an average of one movie per year for the past several years now.
Like the
Sometimes
week.
there's like a gap year,
Mhm.
but that's only because something started premiered late the year before.
Yeah, I'd say like the weakest movie so far has been Raya and the Last Dragon, but not for
I'd say
anything for.
I haven't watched that movie. What I've got is that it's not the weakest movie overall, so much as the weakest uh, original movie. Because I've heard that Wreck-It Ralph 2 is not great.
Yeah. Also, like it was just Raya and the Last Dragon had a lot of poor advertising, so it didn't get a lot of attention
Mm-hmm.
that it probably deserved.
Which is unfortunate because I've heard good things about the movie overall.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a fantastic cast. Friggin' hell. Kelly Marie Tran, Aquafina, Gemma Chan, Daniel Day Kim, Benedict Wong, Sandra Oh, and Alan Tudyk.
Yep. Alan Tudyk's
So,
in literally everything.
He's in this
yeah,
movie
he
as the
voices the
fucking
animal sidekicks. That's his thing.
He was in this movie as the fucking toucan.
Honestly, I don't even question his roles anymore because he's just so perfect for them.
Mm. Also, that fucking toucan was hilarious.
Yes.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, it was.
just that entire scene of Mirabel having to climb all those stairs.
Yes, yes. And then
Her managing to jump the gap, stomping in a celebration and breaking part of it away, and her and the toucan just looking down as it finally crashes down to the ground, and the toucan just looking at her with so much judgment in its eyes.
Mm-hmm.
that is such a deadpan, judgmental stare. It is hilarious.
It's just like, bitch, what?
You done goofed.
Mm-hmm. And then just instantly flying away once they see the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Quitter.
yeah.
Yeah, but like so good.
It's very good. Honestly, this is probably the densest Disney film we've gotten in a while. Like the last Disney film, I feel like that's dense enough to have this much of an extended conversation about it and its themes and its characters. Probably Moana. And that
Yep.
might be stretching it.
Hmm.
I would. Mm, we're not counting Pixar, right?
We're not counting Pixar. We're talking about Disney animated canon.
Okay. Because if we were to count Pixar, Turning Red's probably just as dense.
Oh yeah, no, but we're talking about Disney animated canon.
Yeah,
So
no, I think,
yeah,
yeah, no, you're right.
yeah, Moana
Because
is probably the densest film besides this one in the past decade from Disney.
yes, like Frozen 2 has a lot of interesting elements, but
But you need some knowledge from Frozen One to talk about that too.
not even that, but like my main gripe with Frozen 2, as we're getting off track here, is that they get up right to a point, but don't go the distance with it, and that hurts the movie overall.
I feel like it tackled its themes a lot better than it probably than a lot of other films did beforehand. But you're not entirely wrong in saying that it didn't quite get all the way there. It
Mhm.
got close. It got a lot closer than some other films, but it didn't
Right.
always
Yeah.
make that final step.
Yeah. My main thing with Frozen 2 is the theme of colonialization being kind of hand waved, but that's just a me thing.
I mean, it isn't hand waved to quite the degree that a lot of other films have done. There are also just films straight up glorifying Christopher Columbus, so
Hmm.
True.
take that as what you will.
I mean,
This
Schoolhouse Rock.
Frozen 2, yeah, Frozen 2 actually has like condemnation of imperialism and colonialism
Hmm.
built into its narrative.
Yeah.
But we're getting off track again.
Right.
Though to be fair, Encanto does have no, it's not really related to that theme at all. Not really.
No, there's no real sense of colonization, though it does get close
Hmm.
of what was it? Like Encanto gets to the point of like the origins of Abuela's trauma is not is like isn't a very personal, like, it is a personal tragedy, but it is a personal tragedy that comes from a systemic one.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Um. But yeah, I just want to go back to the final song. All of you.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
It's really good because it has elements from, I'm fairly sure, at very least several of the previous songs, if not all of them.
yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's a really nice way to resolve basically the arcs or realizations that a lot of the characters have gone through. And as I said before, that moment when the moment first when Mirabel is handed the doorknob, and then when Antonio is like, acting as the emotional support the way Mirabel did earlier in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
that moment right at the end of the song when Abuela is like, "What do you see?" and she's just looking in the doorknob and goes, "I see me." Like that's
That
the
can
moment that got me.
fuck a man up.
Yeah, that's
That
the
can
moment that
fuck
got
a
me
man up.
very emotional.
Yep.
Very, very emotional.
Oh, fuck. This
Mhm.
movie fucks up.
Yep. It's a very good movie.
Very few movies like really hit the high of this movie and like still do its themes justice without infantilizing them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it'd be very easy for this movie to be like, yeah, Abuela was the villain. She was always kind of a card-carrying villain.
Yeah.
No, they went the hard route, and I can
I respect
appreciate that.
I
Yeah.
really respect that.
Yeah. Again, I said this before. They didn't go for an antagonist character. They went for an abstract concept, and that is
Mhm.
laudable because
Yeah.
especially considering uh you know there is still this common belief that animation is only for kids, and therefore
That is
all animation must be simple to make sure that kids understand. It would have been very easy to just either make Abuela the villain, or have a character be the one pulling the strings that are affecting the family. No, they went for the tough route. And
mm-hmm.
this is the kind of thing that we need to see from animated content in general, but especially Western animated content.
Right.
I mean, we've been getting a lot of good Western anime content over the past several years.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've got stuff like Phineas and Ferb and Gravity Falls from early last decade, and we also got stuff like the Owl House in terms of serialized storytelling. Just in the
Amphibia.
past couple of years, Amphibia
Amphibia.
is another one. Shira is another one. Uh, we've just been spoiled for choice with good animation.
Mm.
Some of it for kids and some of it not. Like
Well,
That
and like
I've heard good things about some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, like I think that, like I think the specific thing that you're talking about, Mill, is changing now over time. Like as
Yeah.
our generation starts becoming the ones
yeah.
to do like who are doing the work, who are like behind the camera, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
we're exploring other ways to tell stories in like non-traditional paths. And that's
Yeah.
only going to continue as
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, as
Not to
like
mention,
our generation goes forward.
yeah, there's just like a general acceptance of animation as an art form nowadays. Like,
Mhm.
and it's coinciding with a greater acceptance of anime as well in the Western sphere. Like
I mean, what was
20
it?
years ago, 20 years ago, most people will have barely heard of any anime besides like the big ones like Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon and Pokemon.
And now
Whereas
you have
nowadays,
Kim Kardashian cosplaying as Hero 2 from Darling in the Franxx.
which is fucking wild.
Or do you like or the
You've
the
got fucking
2022 American football season announcing their like schedule lineup as an anime opening.
Yeah.
yeah. You've got fucking Scottish comedian Frankie Boyle talking about Attack on Titan on Twitter.
And you've got stuff like an Olympic athlete doing the Gear 2 pose for One Piece
Yeah.
during like an Olympic events.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like also like unfortunately you also have like Paul Gosar using Attack on Titan as a way to like attack his opponents.
Yeah.
So that got mocked real quick.
Right, but like it's to show like but all that to say like people are realizing the power of animation, the power of anime, and like the place it holds
Power
within.
blooded anime on my side. I'm sorry, I
Right,
had to.
I know, but the places in which, like, the ways in which it is a dominant force within our culture and is only continuing to be so.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So we are near the 2 hour mark, but one thing I wanted to mention, I kept forgetting to mention it. This movie looks so fucking good.
Oh,
It is
yeah,
beautiful. My goodness.
it's unfair.
The
Really.
animation and
It really
the
is.
attention to detail is so fucking good. Like
I'm
the bit that really stood out to me is when Mirabel has escaped
yes.
Bruno's
Uh-huh.
tower,
Uh-huh.
and when she lands, you can see grains of sand on her face.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking more like when the house falls apart and like you have that like moment of like Mirabelle just to survive an explosion, slow-mo and like
Mm,
tinnitus.
yeah.
Like the you can see the layer of dust on her.
Yes, that's another thing you can see. Her hair is very clearly covered in dust.
Like it's covered in dust.
Mm,
She is mussed. Her glasses are chipped and cracked.
yeah. Uh, but yeah, it just looks so fucking good. I just needed to say that.
Yeah,
Like,
no. This movie is fantastic
mhm.
in basically
Mm-hmm.
every aspect.
Like,
It's kind of unfair.
yep. They did it like the animation team really knocked it out of the park.
Mm.
They nailed it.
I mean, how
And
long was this in production?
I think like 4 or 5 years.
Let's see, production. I think
also like
November
this
2016. So 5 years.
yeah.
Dang,
Like
yeah.
like this movie is very timely too. Like the
Mm,
other reason this movie probably hit as hard as it is because it's just so incredibly timely.
yeah,
Like
Mm-hmm.
family, like like the movie started production what 2016.
2016.
It's like a lot of families have been torn apart
Mm,
since 2016 for one reason or another.
A lot of them political.
A lot of them political, a lot of them because of orientation, religious differences,
hmm
traumas, for a variety of reasons that are constantly all over the place. But like a movie about healing families and like bringing them together in a way that doesn't immediately go to a religious background is helpful.
hmm
And I think like when they started production on this, they were wise to go this route and lean into that. So, my take.
Um, but yeah, I mean, again, it is a good time for it to come out because in the last, I would say, most maybe decade or so is when I would say our generation is growing up and has gotten and has had a more knowledgeable view on their own mental health and the problem and the what caused those problems.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
And like much like Mirabel, like we know there's a problem, but we're not really sure how to fix it.
Yeah.
Like we can fix it, but it's gonna be rough.
hmm And so, again, that is the reason why it is doing well, and the reason why the older conservatives keep throwing hissy fits over films like these.
Because
What, because they're idiots?
I mean,
they
God,
also like
yes.
movies like this reduce the level of control that they have.
Mm,
Yeah, because media literacy in general and media that illustrates the issues with their ideology and their behavior tend to make it harder for them to maintain that ideology and behavior.
hmm
hmm
I mean, the ways in which like this movie really leans into its narrative is so good, but also
Yeah.
it like very much undermine like there's a reason a lot of people like a lot of older generations tend to like miss the point dramatically because they recognize that like, oh, I'm the bad place.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't want to admit that like their way of doing things are causing harm, much like how it took the literal foundation breaking under Abuela's feet to make her realize like, oh, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh, I fucked up.
I'm not even necessarily sure it's not just um, the foundation breaking beneath the feet. It's the fact that a second member of her family has run.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because Bruno has, disappeared to their knowledge. They don't know where he is.
Yes.
And then suddenly Mirabel does as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not, not to mention, throughout the film, we get instances. There's particularly one scene, I think, when Mirabel is sneaking up to Bruno's tower, where you can hear Julieta talking to Abuela and going, "You are too hard on Mirabel.
Uh-huh.
You need to stop. It's not her fault."
Yep.
Yeah.
And like again, that climax where like Bruno didn't care about his family. Bruno loves this family.
Mm.
It's so good.
Yeah.
The way like Mirabel shuts that line down immediately.
Mm.
Like she doesn't even like give it like she doesn't even allow it to be entertained as a plausible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like it was so good.
Yeah. No, it definitely was.
It is extremely good.
Mm-hmm.
Love this movie.
But we have hit the 2 hour mark now, and I think we are starting to basically repeat the points we have already made, as good
Yes,
as they are.
Yeah.
I can talk about this movie again, but like I'm getting really personal.
So
Yeah.
I think we should wrap it up and just say, if you haven't watched this movie, go fucking watch it.
Yeah. It's again, Disney tends to win the best animation features.
Mm.
This deserved it.
This was a deserved winner.
Yeah.
This was absolutely a deserved winner.
It's what does he deserve this time?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say now, I do intend to watch Turning Red at some point because I know that
Oh.
it is in a similar vein.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get to that one eventually. I
Mhm.
also need to watch Rye to see what that's
Mm.
all about. But
Raya.
I've missed a lot of recent Disney movies. I still need to watch Coco as well.
Coco was good. Coco made me weep like a child.
That sounds about right.
That's another one that's been on my list for a while. As I said at the start, I've never been a big Disney person.
Mm.
Like, it's part of the reason
Well, maybe
I've struggled so much to get into Kingdom Hearts because I don't have that nostalgia for Disney properties.
That's fair.
But I'm very glad I gave this a chance and watched it to be on this podcast.
Sometimes you just gotta have a reason to watch something, and you're like, I need to watch this.
Oh, that is 90% of the reason why I watch a lot of stuff. I would not watch as many anime a season as I do if it weren't for our streams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's motivation.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it helps, and like
Yeah.
you are forced to like pay attention to things you wouldn't normally.
Mm-hmm. And this was definitely a very good example of this.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Terms of future stuff, Saturday, will either be gaming or a tier list.
Yes.
Sunday will be probably more Persona 4 Golden because we are still on a D&D break after that huge revelation.
Boy,
Yeah.
oh boy.
Tuesday, again, maybe Jack, if you can make it, we'll be playing Road 96.
Yes. I
Cool.
will do my best to make it this time.
It's fine. Don't worry about this past week. It honestly is fine.
I dissociated as soon as I got home and just kind of like zoned out.
It is fine. We have all been through those days.
They happen.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it.
but yeah, part of the reason I want you to be there is because A, I think you'll really like the game itself, but B, because I've watched somebody play through the early parts of it. I do want there to be somebody else there to make
Mhm.
the big
That's
decisions.
fair.
And then next Thursday, we'll
Ace Attorney, we'll finish up that case.
probably be finishing up Ace Attorney.
We will finish that case.
Good.
We are if we're where I think we are, we will finish that case or get very close.
I mean, we can't. Surely it can't drag that case out too much longer.
You will be surprised.
Mel, you said that. You thought that last stream would be our last one for the case.
In fairness,
And then
that
you
was
were
because I thought we would be ending it after a single day, after a single day's trial.
Yeah, and I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna disabuse you of that notion.
I also kind of forgot about the killer, so I was
You
like,
kind of forgot about that whole side plot.
so it's like, it's an open and shut case. It was the assistant. Let's go. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. This has been a very enjoyable stream to do. And we hope you have enjoyed it as much as we have. As always, please do give us a follow here on Twitch and on Twitter. I will post the Twitter link in the chat. For up-to-date information for when we stream. Otherwise, we will hopefully see you on Saturday for a tier list or a gaming stream. Good night.
Good night.
Later.